good day. How you going? What do you know? Don't strike a light. Good day. And how you going? Just say good day, and you'll be right.
Welcome to the Midweek End Times News and Trends Briefing as we share major events and what is happening around the world as it relates to Bible prophecy. Today's date is Wednesday, November 9th, 2016. As this is being recorded right now, the votes in the U.S. are being counted. We're watching and tuning in and seeing how the outcome of the election happens. Right now, we do see Trump ahead by just needing another 30-plus votes to get to that 270 mark. So he's about 238 right now as I'm recording this. But again, these things do change on a regular basis as votes are being counted in and we see the majority votes are happening. But this is such a defining and a turning point for America. This is hopefully a wake-up call to every Christian in America to get involved, to make a difference. And the way I picture this, if Trump wins, is the whole scenario that seems to take place in, for example, using this as an illustration, the difference between Scar and Simba in The Lion King. Under Scar's administration, everything was dead and decaying and destroyed, but under Simba, things came alive. And this is kind of would be a scenario that would take place under Obama administration. You see the death of America, the decline of America, but if Trump gets in, you will see a turnaround and America getting healthy once again, becoming a great nation again. But like I said on Sunday morning in the update, that God is sovereign, that He is in control, and that we need to continue to trust in Him no matter who gets in. Whichever way it goes, we need to trust the Lord that He's in control. He knows what's best, and we know that there's just a limited time before the Lord's return, so we need to get the gospel out there as quickly as possible, as irresistibly as possible, and for people to surrender their lives over to the Lord. But as things are developing, again, some people are interested, as I've had many conversations with some of the people around here in Australia, people are interested, what's this whole Electoral College? How does this make all the difference? So I just want to explain real briefly, and this kind of comes out of the archives.gov website that explains this whole Electoral College vote and why this is the game changer for, because you can win so many states or even win the popular vote, but not win the Electoral College vote. But this is what makes all the difference and what the Electoral College is made of. The Electoral College is a process, not a place where you go to it like a university. And it was established when the founding fathers did the Constitution. As a compromise between the election of the president by a vote in Congress and the election of the president by a popular vote of qualified citizens. And this is something that a lot of the Democrats have a hard time understanding what a qualified citizen is, because they'll use a lot of unqualified people to cheat the system, which we've seen over the years, especially under the Obama administration and other times that there has been the vote being counted. But the Electoral College is a process that consists of a selection of electors, the meeting of electors where they vote for the president and vice president, and the counting of the electoral votes by Congress. So the Electoral Congress, or College I should say, consists of 538 electors. A majority of 270 electoral votes is required to elect a president. This is why it's so important to get to that particular number. And so every state is entitled to a certain allotment of electoral, which equals the number of members in its congressional delegation. For example, one for each member of House of Representatives plus two for the senators of that state. So every state gets two senators, but there's only a certain number of people for House of Representatives. Under the 23rd Amendment of the Constitution, for example, the District of Columbia is allotted 3 electorals and treated like a state, even though it's not necessarily a state in itself. It's more of a district where the capital is, for the purpose of the Electoral College. So every candidate that's running for president in the state has their own group of electors. And so the electors are generally chosen by the candidate's political party, but state laws vary on how electors are selected and what their particular responsibilities are. So the presidential election is held, again, as we know, every 4 years on the Tuesday of the first Monday of November, and those who vote should help choose that particular state's electors when we vote for a president. Because when you vote for the candidate, the president that you're wanting, you're actually voting for your candidate's electors. So most states have a winner-takes-all system that awards electors to winning the presidential candidate. So this is kind of a general idea why this is so important, why that number is so important, and kind of how the process goes about. There's a lot of other things and other details that is not as important, but just the process and how it's developed. But that's just something that we're paying attention to right now. So by the time you watch this video, perhaps we'll already see who the President of the United States is, which affects the world. On other news that's going on right now, not just the election, but according to Ynet News, this article came out as well out of the French diplomat. So we'll move forward in our peace process initiative by year's end. So they're pushing this two-state solution agenda. So Pierre Vermont, or Vimont, which is France's special envoy for the Israeli-Palestinian peace process, said at a conference in Tel Aviv on Sunday that his government intentioned to move forward on the French peace initiative by the year's end. So there was a conference that was held, and so they're talking through this process and trying to push this peace process there. Many other countries have also tried to make this happen, but you see the push for a two-state solution like never before. So according to Vermont, the status quo was distinctive of the two-state solution and necessary intervention, according to this Ynet News report, saying that we want to revive a two-state solution in this window of opportunity and return it to the international agenda. And perhaps months before that, as Obama still has time in office, perhaps he's going to really push this agenda. Perhaps he's going to abandon Israel. We don't know what's going to be the outcome there, but we do see a lot of politicians really trying to get this two-state solution in place. Also, speaking of this area, another report that came out of the Ynet News saying a water crisis looms as PA, or Palestinian Authority, refuses to cooperate with Israel. So the Israeli Defense Force had warned the international community that the water infrastructure in the West Bank and Gaza will collapse as long as the Palestinian Authority refuses to cooperate with Israel. According to a joint Israeli-Palestinian Water Distribution Council, which manages the water infrastructure in the West Bank, it hasn't met since 2010 due to the Palestinians' refusal to approve of water infrastructure upgrades in the West Bank and settlement. So this is something that's going to come back and bite them, but I think what I would see is the Palestinians are trying to use this as a leverage tool. Eventually, if it collapses, they'll blame the Israelis for this problem and not fixing it. But really, they're the ones to blame, to use this as an international crisis, an international situation to try to really push a two-state solution. So that's just a side thought on that. On another issue of wars and rumors of wars scenario, you see how Nato puts 300,000 troops on high alert and amidst fears of an all-out confrontation with Russia. So this came out of the Express website and news source, how NATO said it's preparing military force up to 300,000 personnel capable of deploying within 2 months, within 2 months. A response in growing tensions between the West and Russia. The Secretary General of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, said that the Allied nations are putting hundreds of thousands of troops in the state of high alert in an effort to deter the mounting threat from Moscow. While NATO cut its defense budget and military investment since the fall of the Soviet Union, Russia has been bolstering its military capabilities, honoring a parade involving more than 100,000 1,000 troops each year. Mr. Stoltenberg said, "We have seen Russia being much more active in many ways. We have seen more assertive Russia implementing a substantial military buildup over many years, tripling defense spending since 2000 in real terms, developing new military capabilities, exercising the forces, and using military force against its neighbors." So this is definitely a tension that's continued to rise up, as we've seen over the weeks and months, as we've reported before. And then lastly, to report on this, which is also concerning an election thing, but here in Australia, the Australians turned down national vote on same-sex marriage. So, according to Reuters' website, where the Australians bid to hold a national vote whether to legalize same-sex marriage was defeated on Monday in the upper house of Parliament, or the Senate, potentially delaying legal unions for years. So the proposal to hold a vote, or the plebiscite, in February next year was voted down by the Senate by 33 votes to 29. So Australia's centre-right coalition government, led by Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, in August voted to take the issue to a national polling next year. So this particular situation got voted down. So it's not going to go to a nationwide poll, because here's the other part of the scenario where a lot of the politicians, since they were voted in by the will of the people, is that they should make the decision, not the people. So that was part of the comment that I heard on the radio and reading another report some time ago. They did say, according to this article, that the same-sex marriage is supported by 61% of the Australians, according to a Gallup poll, which is kind of hard to believe, but it's one of those polls that are out there that you do take with a grain of salt. So we'll just wait and see how this really plays out. It's just a matter of time for Australia to bow down and to compromise just for a handful of people, like the U.S. and also some other countries around the world that have adopted same-sex marriage. Again, call it something else, not marriage. Keep your unions, but do not define same-sex as marriage. Marriage is only between a man and a woman. But there should also be, if these laws are being passed, there should be a legislation that goes along with these perverted laws that should stop any lawsuits, the fines or punishments, that if you don't agree with it, or that you don't follow with it, or bake a cake for these couples, if you will, or anything else that may not agree with their lifestyle, you should not be punished because you say no to it, or you're not going to go with it. So there should be something, a clause effect, that you're not going to be penalized for holding a traditional views, and you may not agree with it. But again, that's my 2 cents worth. And that's it for today's update. I'm looking forward to seeing what the outcome of the election will be. Until next time, may the Lord radically and outrageously bless you, and may you draw closer to the Lord, stay in His Word, and may the Lord be glorified in our lives, and our families, and our churches, and in our nation, that the people around the world turn to the Lord Jesus Christ before it's too late. God bless.